show. Okay, so I don't know why it's not working. I'm just gonna do this. No, that doesn't work either. Oh my god. These monitors, man. I'm telling you. Okay. Let's go on the wrong screen. Still not going on the right screen. Whatever. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. All right, so we are going to we're going to do our first photo shoot today. You're going to take notes on the different compositions that I'm going to show you guys. First thing I want you to put in your notes is today's date. I will check these notes, okay? And they need to be on a Google Doc so I can easily just circulate the room, look at your notes, and check, okay? So on today's Google Doc, put down today's date, August 27th. I checked by the date, so make sure that that's a big, bold, title, and then below it you can take your notes, okay? All right, the different shots that you guys are going to get when we're outside today, I want you to get selfies. So write that down, selfies. I want you to get portrait shots. Selfies, portraits, obviously not of you, right? Portraits of other people. Objects, write that down, objects. And landscapes, Landscape, landscapes. Now, while we walk outside and we do this, you guys are going to have your phones on you. You're going to take as many pictures as you can. Why as many? Because sometimes one picture looks great on your phone, but you get it onto the computer. Oh, that wasn't a good shot at all. It's kind of blurry. I don't like that, right? So you're going to give yourselves options, all right? So what are the compositions that we're going to be looking for? The first one, I want you to write this down, rule of thirds. This rule of thirds is popular in photography and painting. Basically any visual image, bless you, that you are creating. The artist probably have used rule of thirds in order to create it. Now the rule of thirds, if you look at this photo right here, we got a little puppy, right? And he's just sitting in grass. Now, rule of thirds doesn't mean that you literally draw these lines. It means that your photo has been divided up in these invisible grid lines right here, and you line up your subject on one of those grid lines. So we have this guy, and he's on this grid line right there. If you don't know how to turn this on your phone, all of our phones have rule of thirds on them. We can turn it off and on. You've probably seen this on your camera app. But if you line up a character or a person on a rule of third grid line, the image looks more interesting. All right, this is another one, rule of third, okay? We got 1/3 right here. He is sitting right there. Very interesting. Imagine if he was just in the middle of the photo and we had this boring, rock area right here. It just looks so odd. Now this rule of third, if you can imagine it, everybody look up at the board. Remember, we have these vertical lines and we have horizontal ones as well. So if we're looking at this house right here is sitting on this horizontal line. He's also right here lined up on the vertical as well. So it draws the eye in to this area. Even if you're not looking at it that way, it's still doing it with your brain. So very important that you use this concept when you're doing selfies or when you're doing portrait shots. If you want a dynamic, impactful image, use rule of thirds. to accentuate and bring out that character, that person, or that object on one of these grid lines. Next composition is called fill the frame. Fill the frame. Again, I'm going to make sure that you have all this in your notes when I check. So we have rule of thirds, we have fill the frame. Now this is where you have your subject in your photo and you don't see the beginning or end of them. You just see them in the entire frame. See, we don't see the top of her head. We don't see the rest of her body. We just see her face, and literally we don't see the end of any part of her, but she is filling this entire frame that we're looking at. This is filling the frame. It's also a good use of color because everything else is white, gray, and then we see those electric blue eyes, right? Drawing us in. We have a sculpture taken from above, looking down. You don't see the top of the sculpture's head or even their body. Fill the frame can be really cool if you use it on portrait shots. This is a cool pattern, right? And again, it's filling the entire frame of this photo. Colors are all the same kind of chroma there. We got this flower really zoomed in. Next one that we're going to talk about is triangle composition. This is another thing where we can trick the brain into putting the eyes in a certain spot. By having your subject or the object inside the photo laid out in a certain way that makes almost an invisible triangle, our eyeballs almost instinctively go towards the center of that triangle. They get drawn in. Notice they didn't tape, the background. They didn't, color anything a certain way. She is just sitting there. And the way her arms are laying right here, and her shoulder right here, on the top of her head, this makes a triangle. The way he's sitting on the car and he has his legs in that certain way, it draws the eye up, and even that background is pulling our focus in on him right here. So, triangle composition. This is obviously in Photoshop. Right? He's standing, he's sitting against the wall, he's looking up at the camera. So this is done in Photoshop, but you see just their three bodies right here makes that triangle. Borders and framing. Borders and framing. This is where we can use environmental objects and a subject to create almost a window. So we've got our figure right here. And the way that this window, literally, and even the doors are arranged, the frames draw our eye in right here. Imagine if this photo was just him standing in front of a wall. Super boring. But as soon as you put the subject inside of this frame, it looks much more impactful. Again, this is just one of those bike racks at a park, but the way that the photographer lined everything up so that this element back here was right in the circle, and the way that these lines draw our focus, really cool use of the frames and the borders there. You control where the viewer looks. Notice how just the simple branches of this tree are framing this guy right here. Even the reflection. See how it almost follows the curve of the head right here? This branch. So cool. You'll see borders and framing also a lot when you have landscape photography, and especially architecture, how it really showcases how the designer designed this space and how these shapes are arranged. That's fun. Is an example of how they would use it on a magazine cover. This is an actual magazine cover. Next one is 2/3, 1/3. 2/3, 1/3. Okay? For landscape photography, this is going to be your bread and butter. 2/3, 1/3. Or 1/3, 2/3. You can switch it around. Basically, what this one is when you have either the sky or the ground equal to about 1/3 or 2/3 of the photo. So if we were to look at this photo, what is 2/3 of it? Yeah, Mad Dog.
Like the trees around it? Like you could divide it in like 3 parts, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so the sky takes up literally 2/3, and the remaining third are these trees on the ground right here. Okay, this landscape. Again, this photo, 2/3 of this, all the way to the horizon line, is sky. 1/3 that remains is the ground. This one's different. This photographer chose to place the camera so that 2/3 of the photo would be the ground and the flowers, and 1/3 remaining is the sky. So there we go. That's the end of that one. Are there any questions about those compositions that we just went over? Okay. So, what we're going to do When we go outdoors to take photos, we usually go in 3 different areas. We'll usually go in this quad right here, right next to us. Then we'll go in the area in between the admin building and the library. And then we'll go to the other quad. Okay? We're going to spend about 10 minutes in each. So my challenge to you is to get your different photos in each one. Give yourself options. So take multiple shots in multiple areas with multiple different compositions that you're using. You're gonna, again, remember, you're gonna take a selfie. You're gonna take selfie pictures. You're gonna take portrait pictures. Objects. There's lots of flowers outside of the admin building. And landscape. Remember 2/3, 1/3. Remember fill the frame. Remember rule of thirds. When we come back, you guys are going to get those photos off of your phones and onto these computers. In that last quad, because I don't know if you've noticed this when you walk in the door, the reception is so bad in this building. In the last quad, we'll spend about 5 minutes where you're just going to email yourself your photos, right? Where you have full reception. So for about 5 minutes out there, we're just going to email it out. When you come back in here, you're going to check your email, or even if you upload it to your Google Drive, it'll be there. You'll be able to get it onto your computer from there, okay? So that's what we're going to do. Any questions? You can leave your things here. I'm locking the room. No one will have access to our room other than us. And let's get going.